Redditors who lived in countries that no longer exist, like Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, etc. What was it like to see your country break up? When Czechoslovakia separated into Czech Republic and Slovak Republic, I was quite young and had no idea what was going on. Then suddenly, they started teaching us slightly different geography at school. But apart from that and a few bitter remarks from some adults, that was all. What I do remember, though, is that almost all the textbooks we got in school were written in the time of Czechoslovakia and none bothered to change them for up-to-date versions, so we were often asked to cross out Czechoslovakia from the text and write Czech Republic above it. Or draw a thick line between Czech and Slovak republics in a map. That was during the first 9 years of school, at least. Otherwise, I think Czechs and Slovaks have still quite the brotherly relationship. For example, there is a huge amount of Slovak students in Czech universities, who later stay to work. My parents lived in Bosnia before the Yugoslavian War. They finished building their family home for them and my siblings who were babies back then in 1988 or 1989. And now imagine being forced to move away from your newly built life with 2 young children a year later. I was born in Austria in 1992 and I remember being poor as a child, poor but happy. My mother's educational degrees were not to be found / were not accepted in Austria, basically restricting her possible jobs to being a cleaning lady after being the manager of a Yugoslavian market chain. I remember the first time we visited the old house after the war in 1998 I think. I remember seeing the house full of bullet holes, one corner of the house blown away by tank grenades. I remember finding my brother's old toys trampled into the dirt in the front yard. I remember my mother finding an old dress of hers in their former bedroom, hardened by the exposure to the elements. I vividly remember her sitting on the stairs in front of the main entrance, silently crying. My point is, it is often not so much about seeing your country break apart, but much rather about seeing the life, dreams, and hopes you left behind rot like the old green velvet dress she loved so much. Sorry for mobile upload. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to gain so many upvotes. I guess a lot of people have had similar experiences in their own or their relatives' lives and / or can relate. Thanks a lot for the awards. I have very similar memories. My parents were in the process of building a 3-story house when the war broke out. The inside was mostly completed, they just needed to finish the interior attic and put siding on the house, stucco. My brother was supposed to receive the entire attic as his room and he was very excited. We fled, left the house behind. When we went back to visit years later we found the house in disrepair with refugees squatting in it. The refugees were actually very nice and I remember one of them was a hairdresser and she offered to do my mother's hair. We visited them several times and I remember sitting on the porch in front of the house cleaning fresh green beans with them one day. The house had been stripped of all copper. Looters pulled out all of the pipes from the wall, and all of the wiring. There were several holes where snipers had shot and a large hole blown into the 2nd story where either a grenade or artillery shell had hit the house. The refugees had patched the hole with mismatched bricks they found, sad face. They also tried to do some little repairs inside the house. Some years later we went to visit again and the original refugees squatting at the house had moved. I hope they found a better place. New squatters were occupying the house. These squatters were mean and hostile and wouldn't talk to us or let us in. My dad, who has a temper, was really kind to them. A lot of people were surprised and asked why he'd let some squatter be rude with him and my dad basically felt bad for them and said they're just desperate and scared. He said to look at the conditions they're living in, they're afraid they'll lose even that if we kick them out. The last time we visited, and for the years since then, no one was squatting in the house and it lays empty. The roof had started to go so my dad paid for a new roof to be installed. We all thought it was a waste of money, but I think it was a sentimental thing for him. The house is still there, it's large, solid, it can be repaired. Will it ever be repaired? Likely not. But I think he holds on to that in his dreams and hopes of restoring the house he built one day. For some reason this triggers flashbacks. We had a little apartment down the coast, in Dubrovnik. My dad actually renovated the whole thing. I've seen some pretty nice looking photos of it not so long ago. I remember us having to leave it behind in quite a hurry and for some reason what stuck with me is this image of all our plants in the bathtub, with some water in it. Just those pretty plants that my mom had collected and taken care of over the years, in a few centimeters of water. Why even leave them there? In the deluded hope that we might return before they would wither and die? Or just as something to do as to not have it feel so goddamn hopeless? I don't know, but it made a very strong impression on me as a kid. I actually think it's my first clear memory, just those plants left behind in that empty, dark bathroom with just enough water to last a few weeks. For some reason it still breaks my heart thinking of it, even though the memories after that are way worse. There's just something about a empty, hollow house that's stripped of its function as a home that makes me feel a bit uneasy and set inside, I think.